Okay, if you're watching this, you want to know what are the 5 signs that you are naturally healing from your varicocele. So your varicocele is actually reversing, and this channel is dedicated to healing varicoceles naturally. So without surgery, without embolization. I don't have a stance against these things. So if you want to do that, none of the information here is medical information. So always consult a medical professional, consult your doctor, a medical professional before you use any of this information. Okay? So this is not medical information. I healed a very prolonged varicocele for had it for a very long time, and I want to share what works for me. So that's the whole purpose of this channel. Is to share what works for me. It's a very windy day right now, so I'm gonna keep a hand on this whiteboard so it doesn't blow away. Okay, so what I teach are ways that worked for me for healing a varicocele. Even if you're an athlete, even if you're very physically active, which I am, if you know anything about varicoceles, there's a correlation between how physically active you are, say if you play football, even something like volleyball, and your likelihood for developing a varicocele. This can even go with something like bodybuilding, right? Heavy lifting. Now, what I teach are ways of strengthening your body in such a way that even if you are an athlete, you can still perform well without developing or uh, not being able to heal from a varicocele that you already have. Okay? So as you go on your healing journey, however, how will you know that you are healing from your varicocele? So these are the ways you know. The number one way you can probably guess is to do with worms. Right? So the quote unquote wormy sensation, you will experience a reduction in that. Okay? Now, if you're discovering what varicoceles are for the first time, you've discovered that you have it, and you're not quite sure what it is, I'll give you a quick understanding of what's happening. So the veins that are to do with varicoceles take blood away from your scrotum back to your heart. Okay, and the problem with a varicocele, when you have a varicocele, the problem that's happening is that this blood flow back to your heart from your scrotum is not working as it should do. There, you may have imperfect valves in your veins, so the blood is doubling back on itself and it's looping back. And this is causing the veins to now widen or dilate. And then if they get heavy enough, they start to distend. And so this can cause a problem with the overall health of that area because the blood flow is not working as it should do. Okay, so as it grows heavier and it distends, you're going to experience being able to actually feel these veins. So it's quite similar to a varicose veins that you might get on your arms or your legs, perhaps from standing for too long. But in this case, you're having it in your pelvic area, right? Women can actually get, females can actually get a female version of varicoceles in their pelvic area, and it can cause pain when they're intimate with their partner. So there's a version of this that can happen for females as well. The way that you know you're healing is that you will experience a reduction, or you would you will no longer experience those wormy sensations. So as you run your fingers across your testes, you will not actually be able to feel these worms anymore. So that's the number one sign that you're healing from varicoceles. But this is actually, in my opinion, quite a red herring. But 15% of males have some form of varicocele. Okay. Now, in my view, this number is way small. I think that 15% of males, of men, may have a presenting varicocele, but I would not be surprised quite actually convinced that the majority of men, adult males, have some degree of varicocele. It may not be developed enough that it's presenting, but they're going to be getting some kind of symptom from it. They may not have the wormy sensation, but they may have some of the other problems, such as lowered fertility and lowered erection quality, and even lowered virality, even the desire, virility, the desire to even have um, sex. Okay, so in my view, this number is way low, and for that reason, most men can benefit from strengthening themselves in such a way that they are moving away from any possibility of having a varicocele. So even if it's not presenting, they can benefit from doing training to reduce their propensity to developing a varicocele. Okay, so number two is to do with pain or heaviness. So this can also be described as a dragging sensation. So if you experience sort of just a general malaise in that area, heaviness, be very aware, by the way, that why it's so important to make sure you go to a doctor to diagnose it as a varicocele is because this can actually be a sign of cancer, perhaps of the kidneys. So you need to make sure you don't have a tumor causing these issues. So make sure you get checked out before you diagnose yourself, okay? That kind of goes without saying, okay? But as you naturally heal from your varicocele, you will notice that you can actually start to even wear some of the things you couldn't wear before. So an example of that is you may be able to now wear trousers with belts, okay? It's notorious that if you have a varicocele that is bad enough, it might even be difficult to wear underwear that is a little bit tighter than usual, right? That might give you a lot of pain. For some people that are bad enough, they can't even really wear underwear without having pain. So if you can wear belts and it doesn't cause pain in your scrotum, this is a sign that you are beginning, or the pain or the heaviness is starting to reduce. Once again, it's going down. This is a sign that you are beginning to heal from your varicocele naturally. Hey, and on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. So number three is a bit trickier to track because you will have to get tested for this. But the third one is fertility. This one is major, and this is one that is like very exciting when it happens because it gives you a lot more. Struck my lid there, sorry. Gives you a lot more confidence when you all of a sudden notice that the size of your testes is exploding. Okay, not literally, but the presenting size of your testes is bigger. So why would this even happen in the first place? Okay, so when you have a varicocele, this is to do with blood flow to your testes. Now you have a right testes and a left testes, and the veins that connect to each one, they're different. The groups of veins, they origin from a different side of your body. Okay, now where something like 80% of people have a varicocele in their left testes, and this is down to the mechanics of the body, right? It just makes it more likely that it's going to occur in that area. And the more resistance that there is in the veins to the blood flow, the more pressure it puts into the vein, and it's at a risk of being damaged and no longer being able to send blood in the right direction properly. So blood begins to pool and the veins start to dilate, and this causes issues with the flow of nutrients, the oxidization, and the anti-oxidization of that area as well. So it's more inflamed, and over time, what can happen is that the testes can atrophy, which means atrophy means that it begins to reduce in health. And reducing in health can also mean that it reduces in size. So people that have a varicocele in, say, their left testes, which is the most common, will have a smaller left testes. And this is actually very common in people that play sports at a very intense level. So people that play more than 3 times a week, professional footballers, uh, professional basketball players, can tend to have more and worse cases of varicoceles, and this presents itself as having a smaller testes, and in most cases, it's a smaller left testes. Now, if you now go and get checked at a fertility specialist, and you ask your fertility doctor to measure your overall sperm quality and quantity, what may happen is that as a result of having atrophied one of your testes, and hopefully not both of them, but maybe one of them, in my case, it was both of them, and I had to heal both of them. But in the case of that happening, what may occur is a reduction in fertility, specifically sperm quality and quantity. So, tracking your journey of healing naturally by periodically getting checked in terms of your fertility can be a great way to test how well you are healing your varicocele naturally. Okay, it's my view that a lot of it is as a result of people living in an incorrect way, and I cover reasons that this happens, such as they're sitting for too long and they're not developing the right balance of muscles to take away from the hyper. The varicocele itself develops. So I'll draw the scrotum. I'll draw one side of them. So you can imagine here is where your sperm is located. Okay. And you have a bunch of, I'll use another color here. You have a bunch of different veins that are grouped together. Okay. That are taking blood away from the sperm. And this blood is then traveling back to the heart. Right? Now, when this doesn't work correctly, what's happening is that there's more there's more resistance. There's more resistance as a whole in the pelvic area. Okay? And so these are muscles like the cremaster muscle, which is running up. Okay? Right? And the more that you're overly using your pelvic area and you're not strengthening the other muscles that are connected to it, even if it's as far up as your shoulders, what's happening is people are slouching too much and they're using their phones and they're sitting too much. And so these muscles up here are very, very weak. The shoulders are very, very weak. I'll draw a diagram of the human body now. So you got the head, you got the shoulders, spine, pelvis, the legs, okay? Arms. What's happening in this case is that the this area, okay, the upper torso is it's it's imbalanced, okay? It's it's weak by comparison to the pelvis. So people like runners, basketball players, they have these very powerful legs and they have very powerful uh, pelvic area. And they might even have very powerful backs as well, right? Connected to that. The psoas muscle, which runs up there too, might be very powerful. But there's just too much resistance, right? There's too much energy in that area, and there's too little energy that is being held up here in the correct alignment. And so, by comparison, your legs muscles are the most powerful muscles you have in your body, right? By the way. So, right, if you're just feeding so much energy to your pelvis, it's getting tighter and tighter, and you're running and running and running and overly working those muscles, what inevitably happens is that the resistance, it just cascades and it eventually reaches the scrotum, where the body just hangs too much, it distends, and it leads to abrasions that eventually lead to imperfect valves that can no longer take the blood flow back to the heart as it should, and you're causing the increased chance of having a varicocele. And again, people may not have a presenting varicocele, but they still have the varicocele, right? And it will show itself, maybe not with worms, and maybe not even the pain or the heaviness, but it might show itself in reduction in fertility. Okay. Fundamentally, I've been through this and I've tracked it and I've seen it happening in my own body, right? And to have reversed it, I had a bad varicocele for a long period of time. Because I have first-hand experience of this, my first-hand experience gives me an insight into how this works in a way that somebody who is only reading it from a textbook or who has been trained that the only way to heal it is by embolization or by surgery, they wouldn't know this stuff because they just don't have enough of a window into it. So I'm very blessed to have experienced it because I got the experience of healing it. And I'm telling you, if your upper body is not correctly aligned and not working properly with your lower body, you're going to experience a greater chance of having a varicocele. And this is very obvious because footballers, basketball players, heavy lifters, they all experience this. Monday, took her for a drink on Tuesday. So swimmers are known, surface swimmers, they're known for what? Swimmers are known for having a V taper, okay? Now, people say that perhaps it's because swimmers, they're always in the water. That's why they have less of a varicocele because it cools their scrotum and they're always in a condition where their scrotum is cooler. And that could be to do with it. I'm not denying that at all. But I think that actually misses the mark. And the main reason for it is that with swimmers, they are training their body to hyper use their upper body. So this part of their body is very strong. And their pelvis has to do less work because they're not fighting gravity. So they naturally develop lots of power in their upper body relative to their pelvis. Okay? So this is something I go into deep detail in my course, which is designed to help to reverse a varicocele. And this is hopefully giving you a bit of an illumination in the reason why a person can get surgery and still have symptoms. Whereas if you strengthen your body the right way. Okay, so number 4 of the 5 ways that you can tell that your body has really started to heal or has already healed from a varicocele naturally is morning wood. Are you getting erections in the morning when you wake up? Okay. If you are, then has it reduced since you had the varicocele? Is the quality of your erection less after you had the varicocele compared to before? Now, it wouldn't be surprising if you have noticed that the quality of your erection has reduced And the reason for this, which I'll put into a subheading, is because of a word form that begins with the letter T. Maybe you can guess it. Testosterone. So varicoceles can affect your it can affect the health of your scrotum, which thereby affects your testosterone levels because your scrotum is connected to the production of testosterone. Healing a varicocele can lead to increases in testosterone as much as more than 100%. Now, this is crazy. It should shock you if you didn't know this already. That having a varicocele can lead to a reduction in testosterone of more than 100% reduction in testosterone, which is crazy. Your testosterone levels are very connected to your sexual drive, very connected to your libido. Now, if you notice that you have morning wood when you didn't have it before, or you're having more harder morning wood, right? This is a good sign that you are healing your varicocele naturally, successfully healing your varicocele naturally. And this, once again, is connected to testosterone levels. Okay. Number 5 is one of the big reasons why I teach what I teach. Okay. Or you could say why I share what it is that I share. Okay. Because having a varicocele has a massive effect on your life. Because what ends up happening is there's a big chain of reactions from the varicocele to your quality of life. It's not just you have a bag of worms on your balls. It's not just that you might have pain or heaviness. It's not just that your fertility might reduce, right? And it's not just that you might have a reduction in testosterone levels. I mean, each and every one of these are quite bad in and of itself, but all of these happen together, right? So you less testosterone, you have less sex drive, less fertility, you're less likely to have a child, more pain and heaviness, you're just gonna feel distracted and sluggish, more worms in that area, which is not a good sign. It's a sign that your body's not acting as it should do, right? It's a sign of moving towards disease. Your confidence may take a big hit from having a varicocele. If you notice your confidence starts to increase, this is a big, big, big sign. Healing your varicocele naturally. Having a lust for life and confidence, drive, a purpose, a sense of direction, a sense of like you can do it. You want to do projects, you want to do things, right? You can win, right? You have this kind of winner effect about you. That is a big, 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 big sign that you are successfully healing your varicocele naturally. Lower testosterone, right, is something that leads to somebody feeling more uncertain about themselves. They have more anxiety, they're less sure about themselves, they care what others think about them more, they carry themselves less upright, they're more likely to kind of walk around stooped, right? They're not going to hold eye contact. They might even have reduction in their cognition, their IQ, right? Because the way I describe it is like this. It's almost like you're driving a car and you're about to shift gear because maybe you've entered into the highway and it's just faster, right? You can no longer drive in gear 1 or gear 2. You're now speeding up. You're going for life now. You're moving faster. Okay? What happens is you're in this car, this metaphorical car, and you're looking for the extra gear and you just can't find it, right? You know it's there. You're like, where's this gear? I know I have this extra gear. Where is it? Right? And this is called a baseline. Your body has a set baseline of where it knows its testosterone level should be. of where it should be able to perform. The varicocele, what it does is it is an unnatural diminishment of where that should be. And so it leads to mood issues, confidence issues. This is why people that go into testosterone replacement therapy, they experience an increase in testosterone, risk taking, right? They just exude more can-do attitude. They're gonna take on that new business venture. They're gonna get the promotion at work, right? They're gonna speak with more projection. They're gonna take up more space. And I believe this is the same for women as well as men. Women will probably experience a reduction in anxiety and fear and worry when they fix the female version of a varicocele, which is something like a pelvic varicose. So solving your varicocele issue, it leads to you having so much more power. You put on more muscle more easily, right? You're going to get a bigger chest, bigger arms, right? You're going to look more masculinized. You're going to have a V-taper, okay? These things happen because so many things begin to work better, and you will experience it in terms of your personality as an increase in confidence, an increase in lust for life, virility, vigor, vitality. So what I teach are ways of naturally healing your varicose issue. Now, what I want you to do is if you want to take this to the next level and you know something doesn't add up, you kind of sense it. You sense that there's something in your body that isn't working properly. There's an imbalance in your body. And you know that just addressing the vein doesn't make sense, okay? Well, what I want you to do is to go on a journey, whether you're an athlete, whether you're an entrepreneur, whatever it is. If you're someone trying to have a family, go on a journey, click the link, and click the link right now where I have made a course that gives you everything that you need to know about healing your varicocele naturally. I want you to click the link right now and grow your confidence, grow your lust for life, and get rid of these other symptoms here. Get rid of the worms, get rid of the pain and the heaviness, get rid of the fertility issues, get rid of the morning wood issues, and change your whole life, change your whole personality. That business that you want to take on, get the confidence to take it on, right? That promotion that you want, get the confidence to get the promotion, okay? That family you want to start, get the fertility that you need to start that fertility, start that family. The pain and heaviness that you feel, get rid of that so you can walk around and not have that dragging you everywhere you go, okay? I had my varicocele for 20 years, okay? What I did healed it. So I've shared it with you. And for those who are serious about doing that, go on to the other side, click the link, and you will be given that information. So that is the end of it. Those are the 5 signs that you are successfully healing your varicocele naturally.